Let's go ahead and take a look at what is transaction control statements in SQL Server. Okay, what is a transaction? Transaction is nothing but the set of statements, right? SQL statements. Not all the time we use a single statement, right? So if you wanted to, let's say you have some complex logic, you need to implement it. So in that kind of situations, you need to write the set of commands, the group of database operations you need to perform as a single unit. It's kind of a batch. Okay, so that is what your transaction is all about. So what is transaction control statement? So we need to control the execution behavior of the transaction. Jivanandam, please don't draw anything here. Okay, I think you're drawing it mistakenly. Okay, so yeah, so used to this, right? So we need to, we know what is a transaction. Transaction is nothing but the group of grouping a set of operations together as a single unit. Fine, grouping the set of operations, fine, but is there any way can we control the group of the operations that we the set of operations that we grouped it, right? So is there any way we can manage and control the execution? That is what we are going to discuss as part of the transaction control statement. That is what the TCL it states us. Okay, the transaction control statement, that is what it tells us. Okay, so with this we can draw the boundaries very clearly. So up till which point it has to commit, and which point it has to roll back. Okay, so within the transaction, for example, you have 4 transactions. Okay, of the 4 transactions, first 2 transactions, once that gets completed, you issue a commit statement, so that the first 2 statement, for example, you have insert statements, 2 insert statements, whatever you did it, right, that will get inserted into a database table permanently. Okay, and the remaining 2 statements, something goes wrong, you want to roll back, so that is possible. Okay, so that, see, in the case of real world scenario, we are dealing with huge volume of data. Okay, millions and millions of records. Okay, so in that case, let's say you have wanted to insert 25 million records. First 5 million records, let it insert it and commit it. Next 5 million records, right? In case of anything problem with the next set of transactions, what it is, we can roll back, rather than rolling back the entire 10 million transactions. At least 5 million transactions got loaded, because here the data load is completely tied up with the SLEs, service level agreement. Supposing, let's take for example the order transaction data takes longer time to load into our table. What will happen is there will be SLE. Okay, so in that case, what will happen is there will be a penalty associated with it. For example, let's say you are running a company, you have a production system. So what you do is you are outsourcing it to us. What we are doing is we are monitoring your server. In case of something goes wrong, it is our responsibility to turn around quickly and fix it on time. In case of any delay in fixing the issues within the stipulated amount of time, that can have a serious impact on the business. Okay, so what we do is, in that kind of situations, what we do is batch by batch, we may have to commit transactions. Right? There are some cases, right? Instead of loading 25 million records in bulk, so what we do is we load it batch by batch. You might be asking this, and why do we need to load it batch by batch? Can't we load it in parallel? Parallel also you can do it, but the volume of the data here I'm talking about, very huge, right? Even in the case of 5 million transaction in a single batch, if you think it's too much, what you can do is you can you can establish the boundary, right? So up to this many number of records you can commit. Rest of them, something goes wrong, only roll back the remaining part. So this part I will demonstrate so that you'll be able to understand. Okay, so what are the advantages of transaction control statements? There is something called ACID property. So what is the advantage of transaction control system? There is something called the ACID properties. They call it ACID properties. So what is using which? So these are the so a typical RDBMS system must adhere to this property. ACID property, atomicity, consistency, and isolation and durability. Okay. So what is atomicity? It ensures that the transaction is treated as a single unit, which means either all the operations should get executed or committed or don't do anything. Okay. All of you, let's I do some task, right? If all the tasks get succeeded, then I'm okay. If any one of them fails, I'm going to roll back everything. Do or die kind of situation. That is what your atomicity. And next one is the consistency. Let's so in the case of database, right? Right. So it ensures that always the transaction from one valid state to another state. That is what you are consistent. Don't worry, I'll explain everything. Okay. Yeah. Shri, I will explain. Don't worry. Next one is isolation. What is isolation? It guarantees that transactions are securely and independently processed at the same time. Okay. And the next one is durability. It ensures that the SQL Server ensures that once a transaction is committed, it remains in the system, even if there is a system failure. If your database crashes, your server reboots, but still the transactions will persist in your system. There is something called redo log, okay, redo log or journal database, journal for, in the case of Oracle and SQL Server, there's, something called redo log. What will happen is your transaction will still be there in your redo log, even the case of any system failure, something else, till the point in time, the server failure, right? Whatever the transactions that you made it, once you reboot the server, the database automatically it updates that statement. It performs a commit. Okay, so that your transaction will not be lost until the last failure of your system. Next one is error handling. Error handling, it's a separate topic. We will discuss that one also little later. Okay. So first of all, what is ACID? What is atomicity? Okay. And also we will see how we can define a transaction control statement. You should start with begin transaction, and then you can specify the SQL statements. Either you can give commit. Okay. Or you can use the if condition. If you have something called global variable at that error. So this is a global error. So this is a global variable, okay, global variable called at that error, using which you can check in case of any error, roll back or else you commit, okay, or we can write our custom condition also here, okay. Begin transaction, but remember that begin transaction. When you use begin transaction, the advantage is you can roll back later point. Supposing you inserted 10,000 records, as soon as you inserted data into the table, you realized, oh man, I shouldn't have inserted it. I should have inserted later. So is there any way can I roll back? Yes, this command roll back along with the begin transaction. If you do it, it'll roll back it'll undo the changes, whatever you did it. Okay. It's something like a control Z. In the word notepad, when you type something and when you delete something, if you want to get back the previous state, you use the control Z, right? Something like that, the rollback, okay? Commit is permanently to store it. Once you issue the commit, the data will get inserted permanently into the table. Okay. So the begin this control transaction control statement, it helps us define the boundaries of transaction, when to commit, when to roll back. Okay, so that we will see it little later. Before that, let us understand what exactly atomicity is all about. So give me some example. So ensuring that all changes are applied or none at all, it is fine, but give me some example here. For example, in the case of banking, let's say there are two people here. 1 second. You are transferring the money. Our people, they did not restart. They don't use it all the time. Okay, this is what until it comes, I will write it here. For example, there are two transactions. Let's say person A and person B. Okay, you want to transfer the money from your account. Let's say this is you, and you want to transfer the money to this guy. Okay, what happened? You have transferred how much? 200. Let's say $200. You transfer to this guy. Due to some system failure, server problem or something like that, what happened? this $200 was not credited in his account. What was not credited in his account, okay? But it got deducted from your account. What will happen? He will scream. He will scream. You will also scream. You lost $200 with the impression that, this money got credited to this guy's account. But this guy says, no, he has not yet received. And even you are checking your account, the $200 got deducted. Then you suspect him, right? There is some problem. So finally, you call the bank, and then the bank will say, yeah, there is some mistake. You wait for some time, the money will be credited back to your account. How many of you encountered this situation? So in this kind of situation, when you transfer the money $200, that means, you are inserting the data here. As soon as your money get inserted into his account, in his account, in your account, it should be updated. Updated in the sense, it should be modified. Let's say you have $500 in total, you have the balance. But after doing the $200, let's say this guy is having $1,000 already he has. After you do this $200 should get added here. And here this $200 would get subtracted, isn't it? 500 minus 200. So here you are using update statement. After the money get credited into his account, behind the scene, there is an update statement should executed to subtract the money which you transferred it to this guy. This is correct, right? So $300 should be there. But what happened? $300 is there. It subtracted $200. But whereas here, he did not receive the $200 due to some server problem. It got crashed. So the insert statement failed, whereas the update statement succeeded. Let's say, in this case, two statements will get executed in a single transaction. So we are grouping these two statements in a single batch. Transaction, that is what I said. Transaction is a group of statements. Update, in this example, update and or insert and update, right? In case the insert fails, update should also fail. If both of them succeed, if the insert succeeds, the update should also succeed. That is what it says. If this one fails, this one should also fail. For example, if the money gets, let's say money got, credited, but the update statement, as soon as the insert got succeeded, the update got failed, right? It should not happen like that. So in that case, even if this transaction fails, roll back these two statements. Either do it together or fail it together. Okay? Fail it together in the sense, these two statements. So guys, this ACID property is not meant for only the SQL server. It is common to all the RDBMS system. Okay. NoSQL database, it is not strictly like the HBase and Cassandra, these are the MarkLogic NoSQL. These are the NoSQL database as part of the Hadoop system. It is not strictly following the ACID property. It, certain properties only it follows. But when it comes to RDBMS, all these, this is common ACID property. Okay. So now you understood what is atomicity. What is the impact of this one, right? So here the money was not credited, and at the same time, see, in this case, the money was not credited and the money was not debited, it is fine. Money credited, but or there are another scenario, right? So money was, this is the scenario. Money was, first of all, the money was not credited in his account. Insert statement itself failed. This is another scenario. See, there are two scenarios. This is just, common sense, right? Scenario one, credited successfully, credited, right, successfully. In whose account? In B's account. The scenario two, the failed to credit in the person B's account. But at the same time, it got subtracted from your thing, right? So you're credited successfully, but in your account, it did not subtract. That is, that in that case, what will happen? See, there is another scenario. See, for scenario one, yes. Okay, let's go step by step. Money got credited, and the amount did not get, debited from your account. So in that case, who is the loser? Bank is the loser. Bank is the loser. There is another scenario. money got credited. Okay, sorry, money was not credited, but it got debited from your account. You did not receive, but money got deducted from your account, right? There is a, there is some. So to overcome these kind of issues, there is, they came up with something like atomicity. Either all the entire transactions, which means all the statements in a transaction should get succeeded. If any one of them fails, roll back everything. If all of them succeeds, then you insert the data, or you complete all that, the entire transaction. Okay. Next one is the consistency. Next one, this is to ensure the enforce the data integrity and maintain consistency within the data. Let's take the same bank example. Okay. So there are some rules from the bank side. Okay. Okay. Now what happened? You can credit the money in his account, $200. But before, let's you are crediting the money. But before you credit the money, you should make sure that in your account, you have money in your account. Okay. If you have zero money, all right, so 200, if you try to subtract it, what will happen? See, the money blindly goes and credits whatever you transaction, you do it, even though you don't have any balance, right? What will happen? Or let's say you just have $100 in your account, but you are transferring $200. So in that case, they want to make sure that, you have sufficient balance in your account before you transfer the money. Right. So in that kind of situation, to enforce the business logic or data integrity, so you need to, control the statements. Okay. In case, so in the case of the check constant itself, we can specify, right? If the balance is less than $200. So there are some banks, they have some rules. Minimum, you need to maintain 10,000 rupees in your savings account. If it goes less than 10,000, it should not allow. Okay, you have money, but as per the bank's rule, you need to have minimum. Citibank, I think so, right? You need to have 10,000 or 1 lakh, I think so. Less than that, even though you have 1 lakh rupees in your savings account, because of the bank rule, you cannot transact. They want to enforce these kind of rules. Okay, and the next one is isolation. What is isolation? Okay, what is isolation? I could see some MCA students are there here. Naishu and Sai Sudha, you're all MCA students. What is isolation? Let's say, there are two transactions are happening in parallel. Okay. Let's say you are transferring the money from the same example. Okay. You are transferring money from your account to your friend's account. Okay. In the meanwhile, the other person is inquiring on your account balance, account A's balance, your balance. Okay. So in this case, for example, I just write it here. In the case of isolation, user one. I just select this one. Okay, user one. User one transfers money to user two. Okay, in his account balance, he's transferring $200 to user two, and here 500 is owning 500, and the 200 should get subtracted from his account. Right. So let's say you're transferring the money to this guy. So let's say using another app, another session, right? So you're trying to access. Let's say you transfer the money due to some system delay, takes time to transfer the money to him. So before that itself, when you try to go and check, let's say you are using your Axis Bank mobile app, and then you are using your Google Pay, GPay, right? So you go and check in your, let's say you transfer the money, but it takes time to credit in his account. But in the meanwhile, when you try to access it through your GPay to check the balance, what will happen? The money has not yet been transferred. It is in transit. It is yet to be, but it shows $500 is there still. Okay. So when until this transaction gets completed, the other user should not view this balance. So if you allow him to view it, what will happen? It will give the incorrect view, right? It will give the incorrect. So until these two transactions get completed, the other transaction should not be able to view the data. When he views, what will happen? So until this transaction gets completed, transaction completeness, the insert, or here also we do update, right? Correct. Two update statements. You already is having let's say $1,000 plus $200, you want to add it. It's an update only, sorry, not insert, update. Okay. Even in the previous case, update. Here also you are, here after you transfer the money to him, it should update your balance also, right? So in this case, it goes fine. Okay, there are no issues. But what happens, it takes time to update his money, and at the same time you are thinking. And similarly, the same thing is happening here, right? When he himself goes and checks, as soon as you tell him, hey, I transfer the money, this happened with everyone, right? So you go and check it, hey, money was not at credited, man. It takes some time. Right. So what happens until these two transactions or these two grouped statements as part of the transaction gets committed, only then it will allow you to view it, so that you can see the consistent balance, right? This is called isolation property. So before even the transaction, your money gets credited, or before even the money gets debited from your account, if I allow you to view through some other app, what will happen? It will mislead you. Think, hey, we have $500 more balance is there. We can give it to another guy. When you transfer it to him, other person, what will fail? Or if you issue a check, what will happen? Check will bounce. That leads to some kind of legal issues. So isolation. So the issue with this one is the other operations should not get an inconsistent, incorrect view of your data. If they access it mid-transaction, during the transaction, if somebody access, so this can lead to some bad business decisions, customer service, especially in the case of when you issued the check to some customer, and they are about to present the check, just in 5 minutes time, they are going to present the check. You might be thinking that still 500 is there. What he will do, he will check it, right? He will call and checks with you. Hey, I'm going to present you a check. Do you have sufficient balance? You go and check. Hey, yes, 500 is there. You can go and present it. But what happens? The moment when you present the check, what will happen is this one gets completed. So, and it gets subtracted, 300 is there. Your check will get bounced. So to overcome these kind of issues, so what happens is to give the consistent view. To overcome the inconsistent or incorrect view, you have something called isolation. Okay, so even if you try to access it through GPay, it'll take time. It will not show the balance immediately because the transactions are still in progress. You understood what is isolation now. Next one is durability. Okay, let's say you have successfully transferred the money to your friend, but the server got rebooted. Okay, there is something wrong with the server. So what happens is your friend is calling you back. Hey, you said you transferred the money. Send me the transaction details, everything. But what happened? In his account, money was not credited. Okay, and even in your system, it was not debited. This is another scenario, right? Money was not debited in your account, but you were able to transfer it. You saw that it got transferred, but the moment you finished the transfer, or it was in progress, the system got rebooted. The money transaction was in progress, but during the transit, the system got rebooted. So when you call the bank, they say, sorry, sir, there is some server issue. You need to wait for some time. It'll get credited in your account, or the transaction will be, you can see the updated transaction after a while. Give, probably I'll try after 30 minutes, right? So in that case, what will happen is, even though the server crashes, when they reboot the server, still the system, what happens, the database system, it maintains something, redo log system, or the redo log file. That file captures all the committed transactions, everything there. See, what happens is, in the database, as soon as he inserts the data, it will not, even though you give commit, it will not get committed in your table. Okay. So what happens is, there is something called redo log. That redo log, the transaction will get logged there. Okay. In case of any server problem happens, what happens, once you restart the server, the database will also get started, because the database sits on top of your OS. And then what happens, the redo log, whatever the changes there, till before the point of failure, right? So all the transaction will be committed to your table. That point, it does this one. So durability, even in case of any serious issue on the system side, So in that case, right, when they restart the system automatically, whatever the transaction that you made it till the point in time of failure, it will be restored. Okay. So if it is not restored, what will happen? This can lead to loss of trust, right? You will lose trust on the bank, and then it can lead to some kind of auditing nightmares and financial discrepancies. Durability. Okay. So now you understood with these banking example. This is a classic example, banking. Okay. So with this example, you are able to understand what is atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. But I understood, you cannot understand everything in one go. Probably when you watch my video again, you'll be able to understand very clearly. Okay. So all the databases, all the RDBMS systems, it follows ACID property. Error handling, that is common in any programming language. It is not specific to SQL Server. It is very common everywhere. Okay. So now what we will do is we will go ahead and take a look at now what exactly how we can write a command to do this one. Okay. Transaction statement. Look here. I think something. Let me do one thing. This is the one is annotation. Okay, let me remove this clear. So look here, I have two different tables. Sorry, accounts table and the transaction table. Okay, this is demo DB. Where is the demo DB here? Yeah, the demo DB. I have accounts table, and then I have what other tables? Okay, let's work with the single table and see in the account table itself. I think the balance, everything is there. Correct. Columns. If you see the columns, your balance and account ID is there. That's correct. Okay, fine. So this table are already available, and I just execute it one more time and connect. It will say, yeah, commands completed successfully. Okay, use demo DB. Okay, table was, since I used drop table, it got dropped. Okay, and now what I do is I'm going to look here. This is account ID of person A. This is account of another person. So you are in your account. Listen, I'm going to credit 1,000 rupees. Let's say you deposited 1,000 rupees, and then you are transferring 500 to your friend. Okay, insert two accounts into the table. Fine. So the next one is we are going to query this table and check how much now money we have. So initially we have a blank table. Select star from DBO dot. Okay, that is not required. Not required. And select star from accounts. So this person, right? Account ID 1 belongs to person A. This is person 2. Okay, he was having 1,000 rupees. Now this guy is having 500 rupees in his account. So now what we are doing is account ID equal to 1. So here we are transferring the money. Select balance from accounts where account ID equal to 1. Here I declare. So this is the begin try and begin transaction. The try I will explain you later. Okay, there is something called try block. Okay, try block. And here, try everything is correct. So here the begin transaction. Look here, forget about begin try at this moment. Begin try, this is where the transaction begins. Right? So inside the transaction block, you can declare the variable. Whatever the variables that you wanted, you can use it here. So here, I'm using a variable called balance A. You know very well how to define a variables, right? You need to declare, you need to specify the declare, and followed by that, you need the at symbol. Followed by the at symbol, you need to specify the variable name, right? This is how you need to specify variable name. So you might be asking that, can't I specify balance A? Why should I prefix it that? At, you need to use it only when the SQL server can understand it is a variable. So what data type this variable is all about? Okay, now we did it. And select balance A is equivalent to balance from accounts where account ID equal to 1. Okay, we are taking the balance of the person's this guy's balance, and then we are storing it here. And then we are going to check, you remember the consistency, the ACID, the second property consistency. We are going to check, hey, before you transfer the money to your friend, make sure that you have sufficient balance in your account. If your balance, let's say you want to transfer 200 rupees, let's assume that way, okay? If your balance is less than 200, then it has to throw an error saying that, hey, you have insufficient funds in your account A. You're not supposed to do it. Okay, if let's your balance is not less than 200, it is more than 200. In that case, it will not get in here. It will come, the control will come here. So in that case, accounts set balance equal to -2 in your account, right? Where account ID equal to 1. In your account, 200 rupees will get deducted, and in the other guy's account, the 200 rupees will get added. End try. In case right, so and then commit. Okay, so these two statements. Okay, end try. So here I'm using begin catch, roll back, throw, end batch. Okay, handle or throw the error. So you have something on throw statement. So now let us look at what is begin try. Now the question is, if the balance is less than 200, don't proceed further. In your account, you are having less than 200. How can you transfer 200 rupees? This rule is given by the bank. This is called your business rule. This is violating the business rule. So you need to fail the transaction. You are not allowed to transfer the money to that guy, right? It should not allow you. So in this case, both the statement should succeed. In case the balance is greater than 200, it will come and work. If it is less than 200, it will throw an error. That, the throw 5,000, right? Something else. So in this case, what happened? Look here, I mentioned something called try block. We have something called try block. So usually begin transaction only you use it, but it is always a best practice handle the error. So, before the transaction starts, see, so what is a transaction? Transaction, nothing but a group of or the set of statements, right? Here we have the group or we group all the things in a single transaction, including the variable, everything we put it here. And then here what we are doing is, in case the balance is less than 200, you roll back everything. Okay, roll back everything. Otherwise, you commit everything. Okay, look at roll back and throw end catch. So the control will, so here the begin try, with that we can handle the error. So this is called error handling. In the interview, they'll ask you, how did you handle error? In Power BI, how do you handle the error? You have something like if error function, right? There it is pretty simple. You don't have try, block, catch and all, like Java and other programming language, right? So, but here, begin try, and then you have something called catch block. So in case any error comes here, that will be caught in your catch block. Okay. In case of any error, you roll back and throw error. Okay. And end catch. Begin catch, end catch. This is the syntax. Okay. So what we learned about the transaction. Okay. And okay, now what I do is I just select everything here. I'm going to, select this block here. Okay. And I'm going to execute it once. How much balance we had initially in both the accounts? One guy was having 1,000, other guy was having 500, right? Now look here, the 1,000 got deducted with 200, and this guy 500 got added with 700. Okay, so if I execute again, listen, very next day you are doing the money transfer again. Where is my begin transaction? Yeah, this is the one. I'm going to execute this one. It got inserted again. So now let's go and check. So now my 600. So when I continuously doing like this on a daily basis, I tell the person B, hey, every day, end of the day we'll transfer the money. Okay, now it got debited again, and now we are having 400, and then I just go back here. Even this time it succeeded, and I just go ahead and 200 is there. Okay, 200 is there. This time when I go ahead and do it, what will happen? It will work because it is not less than 200. When I execute it, it is working fine. And when I select, do the select star from accounts, now zero balance is in my account. So all the money I transfer to this guy. So when I execute my transaction, what is going to happen? Insufficient funds in account A. Look here, it raised an error, right? It raised an error. And then what happened? It and then so insert, this is the custom message. It has generated, and then it rolled. The control came to here. In case of any error happens in the main transaction, the catch block what it does is it throws. Throw means I throw the error, this error. So in this case, what happens, the control comes to your catch block and then it rolled back it. Okay, it rolled back the transaction. Now let's go and check. Did 200? No, the 1500 remain as it is because you don't have any balance here, right? So how it will transfer the money again to him. So the second statement should not get succeeded in this case. Though you have grouped the set of statements, and mistakenly also the second statement should not get executed successfully. If it adds 200 to this guy blindly, even though you have 0 here, what will happen? So this guy, on the one hand you are safe. You say, hey, every day I'm supposed to pay $200 to you. I pay it. But end of the day, without balance, how come you are able to? So in this case, the bank will be in trouble. This guy, when he goes and withdraws 1,700, bank is the loser. You will simply say, I don't have balance and I thought my transaction will not succeed, right? Even I did not notice it. So you learned, how to write a transaction control statement. In this statement, what we are doing, so we can write transaction, nothing but set of statements. Transaction control statement. Here, using this if condition, we are able to control the transaction. Though we can execute a set of statements as part of a transaction as a single unit, but still we can have a control over it. So that is where we can use the if condition. This is our variable. In this case, we are using our variable to control it. Okay. And what other scenarios we can see that? Same thing. Okay. Ideally, I should have started with the begin transaction. Okay, this is also fine. Okay. So you understood, right? So this is how you can do this one. And the next one is what are the other things? So it helps us to define the boundary of transaction, commit or roll back. So in this case, I have given a roll back here itself. Okay, don't insert anything. Mistakenly also don't update this transaction. Okay, so because here itself it fails, right? The control will come back here. So in case of any error comes, the control will automatically comes to your catch block. Okay. Next one is the stored procedure. So, okay, so now we have understood. So what is the transaction is all about? What is the transaction control statement is all about? What is asset properties also? What is asset property is all about? And also we have seen with this example, right, how we can control the transaction. Transaction, nothing but set of statements. How we can control the statements, right? So you can use the if condition. There are some cases you can use alternate error also. Okay, alternate error. In case of your the body fails, it can throw an error. For that, what I will do is, yeah, I will show you as part of the error and exception handling. Okay, and that kind of situation you'll be able to understand. Yeah, we have something called double at. So how do we define a variable? So at followed by the at, you specify a variable name, but we have something called at error. So that is the global error. We don't have to use that one. Okay, we don't have to define that one. Double at means that is a system variable. You just think that way. Okay, so with that you can capture the error in case of any error. So you can capture that. We will see it as part of the stored procedure also. Okay. Next, we will jump into understanding what is a stored procedure.